Welcome everyone to We Are Endurance webinar series. Today we are going to be talking about cross-training and the benefits of it. And Ray is going to kick us off. So without further ado, Ray, it's all
Okay,
yours.
thanks, Hillary. So I wanted to talk about cross training. One, because I know, and I'm really addressing the runners in the group, the people who are already doing triathlons, by definition, are doing a form of cross training. So this is really geared toward the runners, but maybe some of the triathletes will benefit from this as well. And there's the reason why I wanted to talk about this is one, basically, a lot of us get into a comfort zone for our workouts. We may have a regular route that we do, every week or, every day, you know, um, and it may be well, whatever it is, 4 to 6 miles a day over the same route. And you're comfortable doing that, and that's fine. Uh, but one, especially as we get older, the benefits of a workout decrease over time if all you do is that one type of workout. Okay. So if it's just that 4 mile run that you do every day, when you're just starting, you'll see the benefit accrue pretty quickly, but over time that starts to go down. Okay. Also, mentally, doing just one type of workout can be comfortable, but also over time, mentally it gets stale and your motivation to do something also goes down. And then also, as you get older, your body loses mobility and flexibility. Tension builds up in your hips, spine, and neck, especially. And again, especially if you're talking about running. Your muscles lose strength. Your bone density goes down. Speed goes down by about 1 to 2% each year after 40. And it's why races with qualifying times usually start those qualifying times at the age of 40. And also why you see age groups every 5 years, because if you're losing 1 to 2% of your speed every year, every 5 years, that builds up to about a significant difference. Okay. So for all of us, especially those of us that are 50 and older, cross training to me is a way to age gracefully by addressing those parts of your body that really need attention. And besides the physical benefits, for me, the hidden benefits are that cross training can also expand your world. You all saw how Ime went on these fantastic um, hikes around the world, or you can see all the off road running that Steve has done. These are all ways to expand your world. And as you also get into different activities, you also meet new people, which again, as you get older, that's an important emotional and psychological benefit, to expanding your world. Okay. So to start, what's one way you can introduce cross training and variety, especially variety, into your training? And again, if you're primarily a runner, the first thing you want to do is start to introduce variety in your runs, whether it's doing speed work on a track, go hiking with a backpack, terrific way to cross train, go trail running with friends, are all of these are all examples of how you can introduce variety into your workout and to refresh your running. Again, if you keep on doing the same thing over and over again, your body's just going to get stale. Okay. For me, the importance of cross training started when I read a book called Run Less, Run Faster. And I've talked about this book previously. There are definitely some downsides to it, but one of the really positive things that it did is that it introduced me the concept of cross training. It also introduced me to the concept of I didn't have to run 5 or 6 times a week if I were training for a half marathon or a marathon. The typical training program that you'll see for a lot of, endurance races are, you're going to run 5 days a week. Okay. The good thing about cross training especially those activities that have cardio in them, is that you can introduce low impact activities, which can help save your body, but still get in that cardio that you want. So, and you can still run at a pretty high level, whatever your level is, if you only run 3 days a week. Okay. But you add cross training into those other days, and your body will help thank you for that. Okay. So, what are the activities? So, um, the things that you can do are running, besides running, are swimming, rowing, biking, even hiking, I'll throw in there as a cross training activities. All of these are relatively low impact, but help you with your cardio benefit. Okay. Um, to that, I also want to add in a couple of other things. But before that, and even those things that are, low impact, like swimming and running, swimming and biking, these are great ways to get outdoors. These are great ways to um, basically emphasize those other parts of your body, especially swimming and rowing, um, that will help you with your running. Okay, and I'll get into a little bit more of that. Okay, a couple of other things besides those type of cardio activities are adding in strength training. Okay, as I said before, your body loses strength each year, especially after 40. Okay, I see a lot of people doing cross training with biking, but this does not do anything really for your core or your upper body. Great for your legs. Okay, um, rowing and swimming in particular add your cardio, but also add core and upper body strength. So I would experiment with those, if only for the purpose that you need some kind of strength training as you get older. Okay. But if you also do just straight strength workouts, you don't necessarily have to do a lot of strength workouts to do, to see the benefits. So if you do, say, 15 minutes of strength workout 2 to 3 times a week, and there's lots of different types of strength workouts you can do, depending on what you feel that you need to work out, you'll start to see some benefit from that. Okay. Again, it doesn't have to be a lot, but it's important to do something. Okay. It also helps you isolate muscles that running or biking tend to not to emphasize. Okay. Also, strength workouts, especially if you focus on, say, pistol squats or something else where you work on, say, one leg at a time or one arm at a time, can help you focus on those areas that biking, running, swimming basically don't, focus on, because, using both sides of your body tend to basically hide kind of weaknesses in your other parts. Okay. To the strength training, I would also add flexibility and mobility exercises. For those who are new to those terms, flexibilities are basically how far your muscles stretch. Okay, and most people are familiar with these. If you've been running a long time, you're familiar with those type of stretching exercises because they focus on lengthening out your muscles. Okay, so when you're doing your stretching exercises, you want to start before a race with dynamic stretching. Basically, those things, those stretches where you're actively moving versus holding a pose and, for 30 seconds or more, and then doing that. That's called static stretching. That type of stretching you want to do after a race. You know, the reason why you want to do static stretching after a race is because your muscles actually cool down with static stretching. you're strengthening out each strands of your muscles. And so your body is actually cooling down. And that's the type of stretching you want to say for after a race. You don't want to basically cool down your muscles right before a race. Okay. But mobility, and here's the other part, is how much is emphasizes the range of motion in your joints. Okay. And as I said earlier on in this, as you age, and especially if all you've ever done with running, and running is a high stress activity, you're going to add a lot of tension to your hips. You're going to lose a lot of that mobility to move those joints. It's also going to go up your body into your spine and into your neck. And all that mobility exercises, and typically yoga, that's what most people think of as mobility, but there's lots of different other mobility exercises out there that aren't classic yoga moves. All those can help you loosen your joints, increase your range of motion, and can make you a better runner. Okay. And for whatever else that you do, if you're a triathlete, or if you like to do bike run, swim, whatever it is, all those mobility exercises are important, especially as you age, and mostly very important if your primary activity is running. Okay, because that just goes straight up your body, straight up your spine, and reduces your range of motion. Okay, and again, like strength, you don't have to do a lot to see improvement. Certainly, the more you do is better, but if you can do 15 minutes 2 or 3 times a week, then that's fantastic. You'll start to see some improvement. Okay, I noticed this especially a couple of years ago. I had not gone out golfing in about 7 years. Took it up again, and I couldn't believe how stiff I had gotten over that time. It was really incredible because I had been focusing a lot on running, and then I had gotten into triathlon, but I really had not done anything regarding my mobility, and I looked like I was about 80 out there. It was really kind of sad. So basically, since then, I've been focusing a lot on mobility, and I think it's helped. And again, Emma mentioned this in the Pilates. To me, it's great to have goals for times, and I certainly have some of those. But to me, the importance to me to doing all this is that I'd like to age gracefully, over time. I don't want to be one of these people, and I may end up that way just because my body may break down, but I don't want to be one of these people who looks so stiff, and immobile as they go over. I'd like to be able to, basically enjoy the activities that I do. I want to be able to, ride my bike, without an aching back or aching neck. Um, so basically, all these things, and it's a little bit each day that you can do. You don't have to train for 2 hours a day. But if you can do a little bit and incorporate a little bit of this each day or into your week, I think you'll all see a lot of benefits out of that. So basically, that's my talk. So what questions do you have? Okay, I guess we're done.
Hi, let's, well, why don't we open it up in terms of if you have any thoughts as well, not only just questions, but thoughts, like what are you doing cross training wise that has you've seen an improvement?
Well, for me, you know, a lot of it has come. I first started by I found an article in Runner's World. It's actually an article um, with both mobility and strength training in it. It's by a guy named Chris Lee. He's a trainer for Tin Men Elite runners. And again, these are guys all in their 20s and 30s. But it introduced me to mobility, which I found out later was basically just yoga in disguise. And then it also introduced me to training. And all of this, and again, there were 3 different types of strength training workouts. All of them, none of them were longer than 18 minutes. And they were done basically 3 times a week. And again, he encouraged you to do the mobility, which was about 15 minutes. And again, about 3 times a week. So that was my introduction to that. But over time, I've also been on the lookout for those things that add to that and specifically address the other ones. So that was my introduction to that, specifically to running. But there's lots of stuff out there. I like to read the Wall Street Journal, and they have a weekly article, Anatomy of a Workout, and they introduce all types of mobility and strength exercises. Again, none of them are long, usually about 15 minutes. One thing that I've been focusing on a lot is one that helps you with your bike posture. So I try to do that a couple of times a week. Again, that's maybe another 10 minutes that I add on to my workout. So none of this really has to be a lot. But to me, all of this cross training is a way, to me, it keeps my workouts fresh. Each day I'm doing something different. Whether it's, sometimes it's just a long swim or a long bike or a long run. But I'm also doing a lot of days where I'm combining a couple of things. Maybe it's a swim, bike, or whatever, or I'm doing a run with strength work and mobility work. Every day is different. And, for that part, I'm really grateful that, it really breaks up my week and also breaks up my training because it's never boring. And, there are a couple of days when I really don't have the motivation to work out, but those are pretty few and far between. I like the fact that I'm always doing something different. So,
Just an
and then,
observation, Ray.
yeah.
I remember the best running that I ever did was when I was running 3 to 4 days a week, which included a long run, speed work, recovery, and just an easy tempo. I was doing yoga 3 to 4 times a week, and I had a trainer twice a week. And that was by far the best running that I ever did in my life. The problem was yoga, I enjoy it when it's over, but not so much while I'm doing it. Strength training, I would just barely tolerate. But if I don't have a trainer, which is, $1,000 a month, there's no way I'm going to pick up the weight. I'll do 3 squats and say that's enough, but I know the benefits because I've seen them and I'm trying to get back to that. In fact, that's why I tuned in today because this is really helpful. Thanks.
Yeah, and that's why I emphasize that you don't have to do a long workout. In fact, there's been a lot of studies shown that you can, if you do actually 10 minutes or less of intense strength training, you can get a huge benefit. And I've seen it as low as 5 to 7 minutes. So it doesn't have to be an hour in the gym. It can really be a short form of concentrated workouts. It doesn't have to be a long time. So while this seems to be a lot, mobility and stretching and strength training, biking and rowing, and running, it can be a way. It doesn't have to be a lot, but it is a way to introduce a lot of variety and address all those things that, especially as you age, and we have a lot of people here in their 50s and 60s, those are things that you have to work on. So
It's great for injury prevention also.
yeah, I agree. Steve, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I can only echo what what you've been saying, and regarding what Bill suggested, I understand that struggle too. Um, One of the biggest obstacles I find is managing time and fitting in all of these various workouts into slots in our days and in our weeks, and I still struggle with that. Um, this week in particular, this is a one-off of its own because I'm sitting here cloistered in my little office while I have a team of painters running around my house, which is just covered in drop cloths and sheetrock dust. And so I know this week is almost just like a wash. You know, it's just, aside from the weather being crappy. But that doesn't mean that I can't do something. But I know going into a week like this that I'm going to be challenged. By the end of the day, even though I'm not doing the physical work that they are, I'm exhausted just from being around and being part of the process. That being said, it takes some planning to say, I'm going to carve out a little bit of time. It might have to be early in the morning before the workers come, or later in the day, sometime in the week where you're going to say, I'm just going to fit in something. So I guess to wrap up, what I wanted to say was that we all have challenges in our days with whatever we do. Life seems to get in the way of us being full-time athletes. But what I think is important for all of us to do is to kind of back off on worrying too much about being very specific in what we do, but rather taking a period of, say, a couple of weeks where we just sample some things. Okay, we sample a little something we found online that's like a strength training thing. We decide what we like about it and what we don't like about it. Maybe we incorporate it into something else. Maybe we spend 15 minutes 2 days from now, you know, practicing one of those yoga routines, and so on and so forth. Blend it in with what might be our particular core, you know, thing, be it running or swimming or biking, just so that you can kind of sprinkle in these little things without feeling, you know, the stress of being committed to saying, I'm going into cross training. I'm going to do yoga on Tuesdays. I'm going to do strength training on Thursdays. I'm going to, you know, I'm going to go hiking, whatever it is. Just back off and just make it something that's just casual, just something you do, just like you're on vacation. You're on vacation, trying out, you know, more movement and exercise things, and just having fun with it.
Yeah, I agree with that completely. A couple of things that I've noticed that I need to look into more is because most of us are working at home or on Zoom calls all the time. There's a lot of stress in your body that builds up also. So I haven't incorporated them myself, but one of the areas that I want more interested are those things that help break up, you know, after you've finished an hour on Zoom, you know, make sure you get up and walk around. There's also particular stretches that they're recommending that you can do. And that's another way that you can put it in your day. Again, it doesn't have to be more than a minute or two. That can, you know, help you, you know, with your body, you know, help you stay mobile. And again, it's not setting aside an hour and a half. It's just these, you know, little micro bursts of things that you can do. Another thing that I've been noticing more and more from some PTs are stretches that you can do, you know, before you go to bed. And the benefit of that is that it can help you with your sleep at night. And everybody knows, you know, especially as you get older, how important sleep is. You know, we tend to ignore that when we're younger, but as we're getting older, it just becomes more and more important to get in a good night's sleep. So those are a couple of things that I'm also going to start looking into. And then again, it's not long, 5-10 minutes, you know. If it can help you with your sleep and help you with your mobility, then fantastic.
I think, one of the big takeaways from all this is that you said it earlier, is that we all seem to be, in a very similar sort of age range. And I think we have to come to terms with where we are in our lives, and that, maybe our best our best days as athletes perhaps are behind us, but it doesn't mean that we still aren't athletes and that we can't really focus on the rest of the journey. And again, focusing on overall health and different types of movement and continuous movement, is paramount to, overall health as we get older. Um, just focusing a little bit on being mindful about fitting in activities without, stressing too much about, how formal any of this has to be, is probably a good way to start, and makes it more enjoyable because there's less pressure on us to feel like, the pressure of failure if we don't commit to, you know, 3 months of yoga or whatever it is. Just try something, especially now. This is the perfect time. This week's weather aside, things are starting to, change for the better. We should, start to embrace, the longer days, the better weather, and, get out, do some different things. The winter's behind us. We've got to change our mindset and, start into a new season and make the most of it.
Yeah, great points.
Ray, this is Jackie. I do have a question. You mentioned about bike posture.
Yes.
Can you just explain a little bit more?
So when you're going on long bike rides, and I'll define that as basically anything over an hour.
Okay.
And especially if you want to stay in an aero position, your back, for those of you who are new to biking, you feel it a lot in your back and your neck. Hillary knows this well from when we would do our 3 and 4 hour bike rides, getting ready. And you can barely get off the bike, at the end of this. And, some of us are training for a century ride, for the fall. Your bike posture, that's something that can really benefit from two things. One, again, some of the mobility exercises, and we had the chiropractor on from about 6 months ago, the last time we had him on, who was talking about mobility exercise, especially for your neck and how you can warm that up. But the other part is, especially for bike posture, it's important to have a really strong core. Okay, most of us think that because you have your arms out and you're resting your arms on the bike handles, that's all the support that you need. But it's actually, you don't want to put all your weight down there. It's actually really important to have a strong core, that your strength goes down from your core through your hips and into your legs. And all of that combined, when you work on that, that helps alleviate a lot of the stress and the pain that you have from being on a bike for a long time. So when you're working on your posture, working on your core, that can help turn those 2 hour rides, from being torture, by the time you end up, to being something, that you can enjoy a lot more, that you can stay in that aero position longer. And then when you're in that aero position, then you're reducing your air resistance, especially when the wind is in your face, and that you can get through your workouts faster. So, all that's, important. And again, all this I had to learn basically through a lot of pain. So, I found an article on working on bike posture over the last year and a half, and it's been a help. So,
Thank you.
mm-hmm.
I think, Jackie, actually, I think you're one of I mean, I see you like Jackie is a flight attendant, right? And so she like posts things up on Facebook, whatever. And she like goes from airport to airport and, she tries to get in the workouts. And I think she does such a great job at that because she's so busy, like flying all over the place all the time. And, having that motivation to get it in is really commendable. So I just want to say that, Jackie.
Yeah, actually, I'd like to hear from Jackie sometime, maybe do a seminar on time management. So,
Well, Ray, I appreciate this because as you see, I'm still in my clothes. I just got to my hotel room. I looked at the time and I'm like, oh my God, I didn't want to miss this. I really needed this today. And I'll tell you why, because in my head, I'm training for Chicago. I know it's April, Chicago's October, but I've heard everyone said that to keep from getting injured, don't wait till July to start training. At least build your core now. And so that's what I've been working on. But it bothers me and I get stressed, like I need to do 3 miles a day. I need to do, soon as I get to this hotel, it starts raining. It was in my mind to go out and run. As soon as I get here, it's raining. I'm so sick of running on the treadmill. So listening to what you said, I'm going to focus on some other training today other than running. So I'm telling you, this was for me. Thank
yeah,
you.
and I think again, when I was growing up, it was all about doing. When you did a sign up for a marathon, you had to do at least 50 miles a week. You know, and the top runners were doing 80 to 100 miles a week.
Wow.
I can't even, comprehend that now. So the fact that you can do, 3 runs a week and then supplement that with something else, again, biking, rowing, swimming, you know, uh, strength and mobility is, a huge benefit, especially if you're really cramped for time or if your, if your location just doesn't, make it easy to do. If you're traveling around a lot and you're not familiar with your neighborhoods, you really don't want to run outside, you know, because you don't know where you're going. You don't know, when you're going to get lost, whatever. It's really difficult. Um, and so the more different types of activities you can incorporate, you know, just to give yourself a break, for somebody with as busy schedule as you know, uh, whatever you can get in, that's amazing. I would also say, especially for something big, when you say Chicago, you mean the Chicago Marathon?
Yes.
Okay. I think the other thing is, just to be kind to yourself every now and then. Everybody has an off day, you know. You know, I was just sick with COVID, so I had to take another 2 weeks off after having taken some time off for surgery. Now I'm really behind. You know, it's okay. You know, if you get some of the training in, even if it's not 100%, you'll get there. So,
Thank you.
It
hi,
looks like
Jackie. You're on mute.
you're on mute, Jackie.
Oh, I just said thank you.
Oh no, Jackie
The other
Seltzer.
there's 3 Jackies on this call.
Oh, no. Okay, so I like toys and I even run with music or on my iPhone when I don't have my headphones. So in terms of doing stretches, I like to use stretching bands or massage balls or blocks or, Pilates, they use the Pilates rings, of course, the yoga mats. So I know that that's somewhat of a distraction, but it gets me to do it at least. And then another point I want to make is that sometimes in bed before actually falling asleep, I'll do the foot moving the feet, or I forget what that's called, but something that they have you do after surgery, and I've done it a ton of times, not only after surgery, but other times, just move your feet back and forth with that lights, back and forth, back and forth. And you do other little things across your feet to get the shins sort of like soft and lubricated. So there are a lot of things that are easy, and it is a question of planning and doing it. You have to plan. Not only is time a precious commodity, but you have to plan it.
Yeah, and then usually, once you get to do that regularly, it just becomes a habit. Whether, you're talking about the stretching exercise that you were just talking about, or another common one is to do 5 to 10 minutes of deep breathing before you go to sleep. That's a great way to relax your whole body, and get a better sleep. If you can make that a routine, fantastic. Another good source for a variety of strength and mobility exercises is the New York Times Well Play page. They have a series of articles on introduction to yoga, mobility, and very short strength exercises. Again, we're talking 5, 10, 15 minutes tops in a variety of forms. So I would go to that page because it also, their Well page also talks about, the challenges of, athletes as we get older. So I find that a really good resource too. Okay.
Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Ray. This was great.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, next time, I think it's next week, we have, I'll tell you in a minute, there's something going on next week.
Hey, if you can take a minute, I got a question. You mentioned the Chris Lee workouts that you found at whatever it was on runnersworld.com.
Mm-hmm.
So I was Googling that, and it seems like they sell a DVD. Did you buy the DVD, or did you just do the ones that were in the article?
I have a subscription to the Runner's World Plus.
Oh, okay. You're in the whatever they call it, the paywall.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
so I have the access to that. So no, I didn't buy the DVD, but I have that bookmarked on my phone. And so, basically wherever I go, I can bring that up. So.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, but I would suggest that, if you've got a source that comes up with that, then that's another great way to introduce, variety, especially if you're traveling or you want to try something new, because, Runner's World has lots and lots of different, exercises on, articles on different types of mobility and strength. So, but, they're not the only source.
Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a bunch of webinars coming up still. We've got recovery. Myostorm is going to come on, and they're going to talk about their product and how to do recovery exercises, which will be great for all of us. We have an author who wrote a book about feet coming on. And we have, a bunch of other webinars. I think we're pretty much booked through June at this point. If anybody here would like to do a peer-to-peer, let me know if you have a topic. We're always open, and we could keep booking this through the fall. All right. Anyway, thank you very much, Ray, and appreciate your time doing this. And thank you all for being here.
Okay.
Have a great day.
Thanks, Ray.
Thanks for attending. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.